The Marvel Universe is always evolving, but these newest villains are rewriting the rules. From cosmic threats to sinister masterminds, they're shaking up the status quo and forcing our favorite heroes to face challenges like never before. Doctor Doom hasn't appeared in the MCU yet, only a couple more years, but fans are incredibly excited about the recent news of Robert Downey Jr. returning to play Doom. How is this even gonna work? I have so many questions. Doom is a perfect combination of intelligence, magic, and political power, making him the biggest threat to the multiverse. Now the big question here is, why Robert Downey Jr.? Are they going to make him some version of Tony Stark from the multiverse? Or is Downey playing a new character entirely, similar to how Josh Brolin went from Cable to Thanos? It's possible. Doom's ability to outthink and outmaneuver even the most powerful characters ensures that by the end of Avengers Doomsday, we're confident he'll leave a lasting impact on the MCU. How? That's the big question. Fans are eagerly awaiting his introduction, and if Marvel does justice to the character, Doom could easily become the franchise's most iconic villain. Number 9. Hexfinder. Hexfinder made her first appearance in Scarlet Witch Volume 3, Issue 7 back in 2023, and she's already proving to be one of Wanda Maximoff's most formidable foes. A witch hunter from another dimension. Need I say more, people? Hexfinder is on a mission to eliminate magic wherever she finds it. Her ability to counter chaos magic makes her an especially dangerous opponent for Wanda, forcing the Scarlet Witch to confront the darker aspects of her powers. Now, what sets Hexfinder apart is her unwavering conviction. Right? She truly believes that she's doing the right thing by eradicating any and all magic. This of course adds depth to all of their battles, making them more than just physical confrontations. Hexfinder challenges Wanda to not only defend herself, but also to justify her place in the magical world. Number 8. Haymaker. Haymaker made his debut in Captain America: Symbol of Truth back in 2022, and he's quickly become a standout antagonist. I mean, as a hulking, superhuman enforcer, Haymaker isn't just about brute strength, he's actually about making a statement. Yeah, we love it, a man with a message. His clashes with Sam Wilson's Captain America are deeply symbolic, representing the challenges that Sam faces as he steps into one of the most iconic superhero roles in history. Haymaker's raw power forces Sam to dig deep, both physically and mentally, in order to prove why he deserves to carry the shield. While Haymaker's origins remain a mystery, his potential to grow into a more nuanced and of course a reoccurring villain makes him a fascinating addition to Marvel's lineup. Number 7. Rabble. Rabble burst onto the scene in Miles Morales' Spider-Man Volume 2 back in 2022, and he brings a deeply personal grudge against our young hero. He's a tech-savvy villain who's a pro in making drones and gadgets, all that fun stuff, and Rabble stands out for a strategy of attacking Miles where it hurts the most, and that means, you guessed it, his loved ones. Her motivation also stems from a feeling of injustice, believing that Miles has taken opportunities that she actually deserved in the first place. We love it, a little grudge. This personal vendetta gives their clashes an emotional weight that's honestly quite rare in superhero stories. Rabble forces Miles to question his responsibility as a hero and the unintended consequences of his actions. Her calculated approach and ability to outmaneuver Spider-Man at every turn, of course, makes her one of the most dangerous villains that Miles has ever faced. Victor Timely. Victor Timely was introduced in Loki Season 2 only a couple years ago, and he's one of the most intriguing variations of Kang the Conqueror. Unlike the other more overtly menacing Kang variants, throwing apples up and down, doing monologues, this Victor is different. He's actually a quiet inventor that operates in the early 20th century, but don't let his unassuming demeanor fool you, okay? He's still a villain. Victor's mind is as sharp as any Kang, and his connection to the larger multiverse story of course makes him that much more powerful. His story is a fascinating mix of subtlety and inevitability. When he starts as a small player, his presence has these massive implications for the MCU's future. And it's kind of weird to watch. It's slowly playing out and you know it's going to be a big deal, but he's so calm, and dare I say it's kind of a fun scene with him. Victor's ability to shape time and his links to Kang's dynasty ensure that he's not just another variant, he's actually a crucial piece in a much larger puzzle, and fans are eagerly awaiting to see how this puzzle looks. I mean, is Jonathan Majors cancelled? Is he not cancelled? Are we going to see that story finish up? Did I watch an entire season of a TV show for no reason, guys? Number 5. Samurai Venom. Takemoto Tatsuya was introduced in Venomverse in 2023, and it's one of the most unique hosts that the Venom symbiote has ever bonded with. As a skilled samurai, how cool, Takemoto brings his disciplined, honorable approach to wielding the symbiote's chaotic powers. This dynamic of course creates a fascinating tension between Venom's wild tendencies and Takemoto's controlled strategic mindset. It's fun to read. Unlike many hosts who struggle to contain the symbiote's influence, Takemoto uses his training to maintain a balance, making him honestly a precise force on the battlefield. It's actually quite terrifying. His story blends ancient Japanese traditions with the alien power of the symbiote, offering a fresh perspective on what Venom can truly become. Takemoto's potential for growth as both a character and a rival to other Marvel heroes is immense, and fans are eager to see where his journey will take him, hopefully to the big screen. Number 4. The Ashen Combine. The Ashen Combine is a terrifying group of cosmic villains introduced in Avengers Volume 8. This happened during Jed McKay's run. Now each member embodies a unique aspect of destruction, such as Idol, who drains hope and joy, sounds fun. Meridian is a relentless conqueror who leaves planets in ruins, also great. Deadpool's Echo is a sinister and chaotic doppelganger, and Domitian is a ruthless tactician turning victories into defeats. All of them together are party poopers. They spread chaos on a universal scale, overpowering their enemies through teamwork and overwhelming force. Number 3. The Omen. The Omen is a dark entity introduced in Scarlet Witch Volume 3. Now, as a being of pure chaos, the Omen seeks to disrupt the balance of the magical world, making it a direct threat to Wanda Maximoff, of course, and other magic users. Its reality-warping powers are on a cosmic scale, putting it in the same league as Marvel's most powerful villains. The Omen's mysterious origins and sheer destructive potential make it a fascinating antagonist, and its battles with Wanda do push her to explore the full extent of her powers, which, of course, we love to see. The Omen is more than just a villain, it's a force of nature that embodies the dangers of unchecked magic. Imagine this in Harry Potter, it'd be over in 2 movies. Number 2. Null. Null, the god of the symbiotes, was introduced in Venom Volume 4 back in 2020, and they quickly became one of Marvel's most terrifying cosmic villains. Now, as the creator of the symbiotes, what a brag, Null wields unimaginable power and commands legions of symbiote soldiers. His arrival during the King in Black event plunged the Marvel Universe into darkness and forcing Earth's heroes to unite against this seemingly unstoppable foe. Null's ancient connection to the symbiotes and his role in shaping their history makes him one of the most compelling villains in recent Marvel history. Again, I hope we see this guy on the big screen. We thought we were for a bit there in Venom, and they teased it and then it never happened. Classic. Number 1. The Maker. The Maker is Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe, aka Earth 1610, but of course with a darker twist. Unlike his heroic Earth 616 counterpart, the Maker is a genius whose quest for knowledge turned into this lust for power. After surviving the collapse of his universe, he now manipulates reality for his own gain. Now, the Maker's intellect is terrifying. He's outsmarted heroes like Spider-Man and the Avengers, crafting all this gear and making all these schemes that challenge the fabric of reality. His obsession with perfection often includes cruel experiments and cold calculations, making him a dangerous adversary to pretty much everyone. Recent events like his role in the Venom comics and the multiverse storylines hint that the Maker's plans are far from over. His unique connection to Reed Richards and the multiverse make him a villain with endless potential for chaos, and that's why I had to include the Maker on this list. I feel like the Maker will have an appearance in the MCU in the next couple years. I'm calling it right now, the Maker is going to be in Secret Wars. You heard it here first.
Number 10. Nightbuster. Nightbuster is new to superheroing, but is super cute. And of those that are on our list is one that I know super well, considering I have been continuing to collect Nightwing all this year. It was my only comic of the big 2 that I allowed myself to keep collecting. She is Olivia Desmond and was the daughter of Roland Desmond, aka Blockbuster, and get this, Jezebel Jet. Remember Jezebel Jet? Yeah. She is the daughter of those 2 villains, and yet she will probably grow up to become a hero. Her foster father is Nightwing, who also rescued her from having her soul claimed by Neuron. Neuron had basically acquired a contract for Olivia's soul, which Roland had promised Neuron in exchange for his own upon his death, because he didn't want his soul to be claimed, so he was like, how about I give you my daughters instead? It was all super creepy. When Blockbuster was killed, Neuron came a knockin', and fortunately, Nightwing, with some help from the Titans and Oracle, was able to keep Olivia safe. She would be revealed to have inherited her father's super strength and agreed to train and live with the Amazons on Themyscira, taking up the mantle of Nightbuster. Olivia made her first appearance in Nightwing issue number 98, the 4th volume of the Nightwing title, and she was created by Tom Taylor and Daniel DiNucquello. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, and if you love when we talk about superheroes, know that we have a whole gigantic superhero playlist for you to check out. Number 9. Rec Rap. Oh my goodness, I love Rec Rap. While I honestly wasn't a big fan of the Dark Web Spider-Man based event overall, Rec Rap was a part of that event and was a character that we got from it that honestly, I loved. Wreck-Rap is a demon who was inspired by Spider-Man's Peter Parker to become a hero himself. He initially was known by the name of Parker Man before he adopted the mantle Wreck-Rap, which of course is just Parker backwards. Wreck-Rap. His powers are similar to Spider-Man's, combined with that of a symbiote, and instead of web slinging, he prefers to call what he does with his organic webs web wanging. I really hope we see more of him in the comics. Wreck-Rap made his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man issue number 17 of the current volume, which we know officially as volume number 6 of ASM. Wreck-Rap was created by Zeb Wells and Ed McGuinness. Number 8. No One. Probably one of the most iconic superheroes to make their debut appearance in 2023 for me was the vigilante we've come to know as No One. Very mysterious. They are not exactly your typical hero, but I think that's what makes them so interesting. No One is from the comic of the same name and made their first appearance in said comic in issue 1 back in March. The character was created by Kyle Higgins, Brian Buccellato, and Geraldo Borges. They don't necessarily seem to have any superpowers per se, but are an extremely skilled fighter and rely on tech, gadgets, and their skills to accomplish their goals. Their focus is on calling out those who are corrupt and holding them accountable. As the saying goes, no one is above the law, but of course they are no one. The whole series centers around the mystery of who's under the mask and all of the events that happen around them, and that's also part of what makes the story of No One so interesting. That and the fact that it's a multimedia story told through the comic and interchanging episodes of a podcast, where various characters are actually voiced, so you can actually also hear what they sound like. There's also a website that you can go to, No One's website, where if you know the right code, you can learn more about their secrets as well. So the immersiveness and interactivity of this story are also a huge part of what I love about it. The story centered around No One, which is set in Pittsburgh. Number 7. Rasputin IV. If you are a House of X / Powers of 10 fan, you might be wondering how we can consider Rasputin IV as a new hero. Well, that's because this version of her is technically an alternate in comparison to the first version that we saw of her in that beginning to the Krakoan era. This version of the character comes from an alternate reality created by Sins of Sinister. A version of Mr. Sinister created Rasputin IV as a chimera hybrid mutant from the samples of 5 genetic powerhouses, also like in the beginning of the Krakoan era. However, after doing so, he realized he had made himself obsolete and began to feel regret for what he'd done to get him to where he was. He actually freed Rasputin from her conditioning, confessed his sins to her, and begged for her help in getting back a device that would basically return the world to how it was during the Paradise Krakoan era, which he of course had destroyed. They did not succeed in their mission, but Rasputin would eventually have her mind sent back to the time of Krakoa, allowing her to capture Sinister and have him punished for his crimes by the Quiet Council. Rasputin made her first appearance in Immoral X-Men issue number 2 and was created by Kieran Gillen and Lucas Wernick. She is a combination of Colossus, Quentin Quire, Unis the Untouchable, Talon aka Laura Kinney, and Shadowcat aka Catherine Pride. Spider-Boy. Love him or hate him, Spider-Boy is here. Although it seems a little weird in regards to the timing of when he arrived, considering that he came in after Marvel had decided to get rid of Ben Reilly because, well, too many Spider-Men / Spider-themed heroes. Too many. And then enter Spider-Boy. Interesting. Spider-Boy is Bailey Briggs. He made his first appearance in Spider-Man issue number 7, the current run, which is considered to be the 4th overall volume of purely just Spider-Man, the Spider-Man title. Not to be confused with Amazing Spider-Man, which is also about Spider-Man, but it's just a different title. I know it's confusing, but just go back to the 90s, you'll be even more confused. Got Web of Spider-Man, you got all these comics. His DNA was spliced with the spider by Madame Monstrosity, which gave him spider powers and turned him into a human-spider hybrid. He was created by Dan Slott and Humberto Ramos. Number 5. Deadeye. Deadeye is the nephew of Amanda Waller. He's not exactly straight up a hero, but he also isn't exactly a bad guy either. It's kind of complicated. And he's pretty cool looking and definitely new as of this year, so I'm gonna include him here on this list. He made his first appearance in Lazarus Planet Next Evolution issue number 1. Oh boy, Lazarus Planet was a weird time, but hey, at least we got some cool characters like Deadeye out of it. Deadeye's name is Archie Waller, and he's only made a couple of appearances, so we don't really know too much about him just yet. His power set is based in the realm of psionics, having psychic and telepathic powers, but he also has demonstrated super strength as well. He can travel to the astral plane, travel to different dimensions, and also has a certain level of cosmic awareness. He was created by Chuck Brown Brown, and Alita Martinez. Number 4. Misery. Misery is the symbiote who ended up being bonded to Liz Allen. A copy of the symbiote also existed and was bonded to a chimpanzee named Grace. Initially, Grace the chimpanzee, once stabilized, sought to get revenge on Liz, but Liz was in essence saved by her newfound abilities through being bonded to Misery. Misery is a pretty powerful symbiote due to them being a combination of both the anti-venom symbiote and Carnage, which both also oppose each other. Thanks to them constantly battling and attempting to destroy one another and healing, Misery has an insane healing factor. Misery made their first appearance in Cult of Carnage Misery issue number 1 and was created by Sabir Perzada and Francesco Motorino. Number 3. Trinity. We love ourselves a heroic alternate version of a superhero's child. And if you are one of the folks who really love potential superhero kids from alternate futures, then you're gonna love this new hero, Trinity. Trinity is Elizabeth Lizzie Marston Prince. She is the daughter of Wonder Woman and an unknown man in a potential future. In her reality, she is also the future leader of the Justice League. She grew up alongside fellow super kids Damian Wayne and John Kent, who she looked up to as they were kind of like her older brothers. Her powers are similar to her mother's, and she also possesses the 3 lassos of fate. Lizzie was created by Tom King and Daniel Semper and made her first appearance in the legacy numbered issue number 800 of Wonder Woman. Number 2. 97. 97, or Ikomaki, is one of the new immortal and mysterious beings we've come to know through Jonathan Hickman's God series. She is part of an epic war that has gone on for, well, seemingly forever, between sort of the god of science and the god of magic. 97 serves the god of science, known as the natural order of things, as one of their main agents, being the last of the prime number centivars in their service. They have 100 centivars total, and she is the last prime because she's, number 97. She even gave up her relationship with the love of her life, Wynn, her once husband, who was secretly the avatar of the rival god of magic, which is known as the powers that be. 97 made her first appearance in Uncanny Avengers issue number 1, the 4th volume in the Uncanny Avengers title. She was created by Jonathan Hickman and Valerio Schitti. Number 1. Kyle the Catboy. Kyle the Catboy is an interesting one. He's more of a neutral figure, but he does end up working with heroes at one point, so I'd still say he's more hero than villain, so I'm gonna count him. And honestly, most of the bad stuff that he's done in his life hasn't really been focused on hurting people or anything like that, but more on surviving. He was a criminal who spliced his DNA with a cat, becoming a splicer. He hails from the Future's End reality and ends up teaming up with Batman there, who in this reality of course is Terry McGinnis. His name is a variation on Selena Kyle, with it being Kyle Salinas. Kyle was also at one point taken in by John Constantine and taught magic by his mentor, but while he thought Constantine actually cared for him, he'd later learned that Constantine had actually unloaded all his curses on him so he could die peacefully and without burden. Ouch. Catboy first appeared in Batman Neo-Gothic issue number 1 and was created by Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, and Max Dunbar. Number 10. Oblivion. Oblivion first made his appearance in Green Lantern New Guardians annual issue number 2. He was created after Kyle Rayner edited The Source. Oblivion embodies all of the darker emotions of Kyle Rayner, and he kind of has like a Venom vibe going on, which I dig. He ended up teleporting himself and Carol Ferris to Arizona, where he then created illusions of Rayner's friends and superhero colleagues. Rayner arrived and confronted Oblivion, urging him to fix the town in Arizona that he'd altered with illusions, but Oblivion of course refused. In the end, Kyle realized he had to merge with Oblivion in order to defeat him. However, his attempt to do so resulted in both Oblivion and himself becoming lost within the vastness of the Source. That's why you don't mess with the Source. Number 9. Red Tool. Red Tool made the cut because, while not a serious threat as a supervillain, he is just super entertaining. He's basically DC's ripoff of Marvel's Deadpool, who of course himself is a ripoff of DC's Deathstroke. Red Tool is a mercenary who fights solely with hardware tools and equipment. He was introduced in Harley Quinn's series and seems full-on obsessed with her there. He tattooed his phone number on her butt during their first meeting, wherein he also kidnapped her. Despite his obsession, however, and the two getting off on somewhat of the wrong foot, or maybe the odd foot really, the two eventually became good friends, with Red Tool's Wayne Wilkins even becoming a potential love interest for Harley. I also just love that all of his speech bubbles tend to be tools. It's cute. bonus points for art. Number 8. The Inheritors. So I know not everyone loves the Inheritors as much as I do, but my love of Victorian style and vampires as well as alternate versions of Spidey meant that these villains, well, they were basically destined for me to love them. These energy vampires have plagued many different versions of spider people as they feed off of the energy of spider totems. The other awesome thing about them is they helped to bring us Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon, which ultimately led to the development of the film version Into the Spider-Verse. And without them, we also wouldn't have the Web Warriors or any of the Spider Army. So yeah, you might not agree that they're terrifying and awesome, but either way, you have to agree that they're kind of important in developing the Spider-Verse itself. So respect. There's gonna be so many people being like, Amanda just loves Twilight vampires or something in the comments. I don't. Just FYI, in case you're wondering. Number 7. Kindred. Kindred was a new Spider-Man villain who first fully appeared in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5, Issue 5, after being mentioned many years ago in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Issue 12. Not much has been revealed about the villain, which automatically makes them super intriguing to me. At first, it almost seemed like they could be an ally to Peter. Kindred was a human in life who was sent to hell and death and became a demon. They seem to have known Peter in life and affectionately referred to him as Pete. Kindred even kept an eye on MJ for Peter, but Peter had also had a vision of them harming her. Kindred later revealed that they had returned to get revenge on both Norman Osborn and Peter for causing pain to them in their life, but especially Norman. I mean, obviously it caused more pain. However, when they came upon Norman, he was not himself, he was stuck in his Cletus Cassidy persona, so Kindred spared him and simply inserted one of their centipedes into his brain through his ear to keep Osborn/Cletus from killing Spider-Man. Kindred's buying his time, waiting until, Norman Osborn is Norman Osborn again, which is fair, because he wants that revenge to be just on Norman Osborn, not this Cletus persona. Confusing. So all we know is that Kindred is vengeful and seems to have apparently mind-influencing centipedes. Number 6. Red Onslaught. Red Onslaught is a clone of the original Red Skull, Johann Schmidt. This one managed to take things to a level of ridiculousness that even surprised me. We are talking soap opera levels here, people. Okay, here we go. After Professor X died, this Red Skull clone worked hard to get his hands on the dead telepath's brain. He gave himself a brain transplant, or at least a partial one, in order to harness Charles's old powers, because apparently that's how that works. This made Red Skull pretty powerful. He ended up using this power to turn Genosha into a concentration camp for mutants and Inhumans alike, which obviously royally pissed off Magneto. Magneto, furious, attacked Red Skull, but decided not to use his powers and give him a cleaner death by killing him naturally, by smashing his skull with bricks, which, if we're talking about cleaning up after as in a cleaner death, that doesn't really sound that clean. This was overall a bad move as well, as it only unlocked a more powerful persona within Red Skull, known as Red Onslaught. The terror and hate that Red Onslaught unleashed set us up for the Axis event, as the only way to stop Red Onslaught was by Scarlet Witch flipping his psyche to give the small consciousness of Xavier that was still left in that brain more control. Number 5. Godspeed. This villain was introduced in Rebirth. August Hart was a witness to the event that gave Barry his speedster powers. He was also Barry's partner on the Force and was granted his own speedster powers as well, using them to get revenge on his brother's killers. When a speedstorm granted multiple civilians speed powers as well, August joined Barry in rounding them up. What Barry didn't know at the time was that August was actually Godspeed, a villain who was tracking down civilians with speed powers and draining them of their speed energy to make himself more powerful, and thereby killing those he siphoned speed from. In fact, it's this power of harnessing other speed energy that made him so dangerous as a villain. Number 4. MODOK. Remember when Donald Trump made his way into the comic book world? He appeared in Spider-Gwen Annual No. 1 in 2016 on Spider-Gwen's home of alternate Earth 65, where he became that Earth's version of terrifying yet hilarious villain, MODOK. Pretty fitting, I think. Not only does MODOK, which stands for Mental Organism Designed as America's King, make the list because of how topical he is, but he also makes our cut because he was one of the last creations revealed by Stan Lee, who thought it was fitting that the villain be defeated by Earth 65 Captain America, aka Samantha Wilson, who is both female and a person of color. Although Lee was not responsible for the villain's creation, he definitely got a kick out of this one. MODOK was created by Jason Latour and Chris Visions. Number 3. Orcus. One of the biggest threats to mutant kind has recently appeared in the comics, although mutant leaders like X almost seem to be becoming somewhat eerily villainous themselves in a way. No side in the House of X series actually seems quite just, which I think is what I like so much about it. It all feels very gray area when it comes to the characters, despite the fact that their views are also very extreme. Still, if you are siding with the mutants, then Orcus is the enemy that we are talking about for this list. They are an organization comprised of many different agencies such as SHIELD, Strike, Sword, AIM, Armor, Hammer, Hydra, you know, just all the acronyms there. Oh, and Alpha Flight. Not an acronym, but still important. Their goal is to protect humanity from drastic events that could threaten the human population. One of their projects that we saw in House of X was the Mother Mold, a creation even more dangerous than a master mold. The Mother Mold learns and changes the mold of sentinels it creates over time, learning as it creates and witnesses the outcome of those sentinels it builds and sends out. While the X-Men defeated the Mother Mold, just the prospect of a team which is smart enough to build such tech is terrifying if you're a mutant. 3 Jokers. While we wait for this one to be released, these 3 mysterious villains gave us Batman fans one of the biggest gasp moments maybe ever. In Justice League issue 42 from 2015, when Batman asks the Mobius chair, which knows all, about the identity of the Joker, it gives him a strange answer, that there are actually 3 Jokers. What? We didn't even find out though what that answer was until 8 months after the question was asked as well. We just got to see Batman be like, what? And then we were left with that cliffhanger piece of information that there were 3 Jokers for like what feels like forever. Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok set out to work on a miniseries from DC's Black Label exploring this mystery titled Batman 3 Jokers. But this series has since had its expected release date pushed back and then back again. And now it's looking like we should probably see this book sometime this year in 2020. Hopefully it's worth the wait, and hopefully please let it end up being canon. Still, prospects seem good for these 3 Jokers. I really just want to know who they are. It's very exciting. Number 1. Dark Carnage. Okay, so I know that Cletus has been a villain who has been around since the 1990s, but his latest resurrection and change has taken the supervillain to new heights, breathing new life into him and changing him into something beyond his more well-known alias as Carnage. Following the events of the Poison invasion, Cletus returned to Earth, literally plummeting out of the sky. As the atmosphere threatened to burn him up upon re-entry, the Carnage symbiote re-emerged, attempting to protect its host. However, it failed, and it seemed that Cassidy and Carnage had perished, until a Null-worshipping cult got its hands on his corpse and managed to bond Cletus with the ancient Grendel symbiote, aiming to turn him into a vessel for Null to return in. This set in motion the events of absolute carnage, putting in danger the lives of anyone who had ever bonded to a symbiote, or the corpses of those now deceased who had bonded to a symbiote, as Dark Carnage set out to consume their symbiote codices located in their spinal columns. Number 10. The Builders. The Builders are a recent addition of the Marvel Rogues Gallery, only recently approaching their 10th year of existence in the comics, which makes them sound old, but really relative to comic book history they're still pretty new, because Marvel Comics I think has been going on for like 80 years. Whoa! The Builders are a race of beings who claim to have created most of the known worlds in the universe, seeding worlds and influencing the development of civilizations for eons. They are also said to be a perfect race of beings, and when the multiverse appears to be dying as a result of incursions, they take it upon themselves to clean up the mess by wiping out complete worlds and empires, which puts them at odds with the heroes of Earth during the Infinity crossover event.
Number 9. The Black Winter. Ready to be slightly confused? Good. So the Marvel multiverse rebirths itself whenever it gets destroyed. Right now the multiverse is currently in its 8th version. Everything prior to the most recent Secret Wars and the incursions and the battle world and all that took place in the 7th version. Before that came to be, there was, get this, the 6th version. And when that version was destroyed, only one being survived. That would be the character who became Galactus. Well, now we know how the 6th cosmos was destroyed, and ooh, it's scary. The 6th cosmos was actually consumed by an entity called the Black Winter, essentially a living storm of destruction and entropy on a multiversal scale, like Galactus but for universes. Kind of. When the Black Winter ate the 6th cosmos, it allowed Galen, Galactus' real name, to live on into the 7th cosmos, and serve as its herald. Now, funnily enough, Galactus mostly ignored his heralding duties until the day the Black Winter showed up in the 7th cosmos in 2019. Galactus turned to Thor for help, but the two were unable to cooperate, and Thor wound up slaying Galactus, something the Black Winter prophesied would actually happen. Then Thor turned the corpse of Galactus into a power cosmic explosion and blew up the Black Winter. But before it went away, it showed Thor how he will perish at the hands of Thanos wielding an Infinity Stone encrusted Mjolnir, so now we have that to look forward to.
Number 8. Mr. Misery. Mr. Misery is a Doctor Strange villain that was actually created by Doctor Strange himself. Some people create their own villains. Oof. Some people are their own villains. Ah. Mr. Misery was a creature that embodied all the pain and misery that Strange had suffered from using magic during his time as Sorcerer Supreme. The beast was also commonly referred to as the Thing in the Cellar. At least, well, that's what it was originally referred to as. We'll get to that in a second. The Thing in the Cellar was released when all magic was threatened during the attack of the technological army known as Empirical. Mr. Misery is actually the name the creature took for itself after Doctor Strange was forced to reckon with it following its accidental release. Strange freed the creature by depositing his suffering and pain instead into the people that he had saved, dividing it up so that each only carried a small piece of it within them. These people were also willing to do so as they had been saved by Strange in the past. So they were like, yo, Strange is my guy, I'll take a little bit of pain for you, no problem. Even after being freed, Mr. Misery continued to crave the pain and suffering of others, which is, you know, why he took the name Mr. Misery and became a villain. Or they, it. It's kind of like a blob.
Number 7. Horticulture. Ever since I learned about this group, I will take any opportunity to talk about them. Horticulture is a group of 4 older women between the ages of 64 to 81 who are all expert botanists. They are Augusta Brones, Lily Lamus, Edith Scutch, and Opal Vedivere. And their goal is simple. Sort of. Essentially, they want to bring Earth back to a more pristine time. A time when it had about 7 billion less people on it. Yes, these ladies want to basically exterminate most of the Earth's human population and bring plants back to the forefront, and specifically flowers, which is kind of a lovely idea, sort of. This goal brings them into conflict with the X-Men in 2019's X-Men number 3, because the nation of Krakoa, that the mutants call home, have been mass producing these flowers with different bio and tech purposes, and these ladies would like to use them for their villainous goals. Beyond biological modifications believed to have been made to themselves, the women of horticulture are experts at manipulating the environment to suit their extinction agenda. And they're also computer programmers, selling software to the anti-mutant group Orcus to monitor Krakoan gateways. So, now you know.
Number 6. Cordyceps Jones. Although he might not be as new as some of the other villains mentioned here, Cordyceps Jones is still a relatively new villain, if you've been out of comics for the last few years at least. He first appeared back in 2017 in Rocket issue number 4 and was created by Al Ewing and Adam Gorham. Cordyceps Jones is known for having a salacious reputation across the cosmos. He's a 30,000-year-old fungal parasite who, due to his longevity, has made an intergalactic fortune and is known for owning many successful casinos across the cosmos. Recently, he appeared in the X-Men series where he seems to be threatening the existence of Earth, setting up a bet for fun to see who can be the first to wipe it out. Because, you know, that's what you do when you're a rich fungal parasite and you've been around for too long. That's what happens. You gotta make some bets.
Number 5. The Sinister Adaptoid. Okay, so the Super Adaptoid ain't no kind of new villain either, but an Adaptoid that takes on the abilities and likeness of all the members of the Sinister Six, that's certainly something new. In Amazing Spider-Man number 6 from 2022, which also happens to mark Amazing Spider-Man number 900 in legacy numbering, a second and improved version of the Living Brain emerges as the story's primary antagonist on Peter Parker's birthday. His main goal? Trying to find out who Spider-Man is. To that end, he kidnapped all of Spider-Man's most frequently deadly foes, the Sinister Six, and created a Super Adaptoid with them. It's like 25 feet tall, strong, fast, zappy, honor-obsessed, 8-legged, mysterious, and it likes to quote some of the Six's lines. Spider-Man ends up having to team up with the captured 6 villains to fight the Adaptoid, but it's actually the villains' inability to properly work together that makes the Adaptoid malfunction and destroy itself. It's kind of funny how that works. As for the Living Brain, he ends up switching sides when Spider-Man refuses to let the 6 destroy it, and saves the day before revealing it actually already knows Peter's real name. Kinda weird.
Number 4. Orcus. Orcus is the entire villainous organization that first appeared in House of X issue number 1, back when Dawn of X was just starting up and it was all fresh and new and we were like, a new mutant thing and it's so good, and now we're like, please don't ever end, but it's probably gonna end soon, so I'll just go into the closet and cry forever. Don't worry about it. Orcus is an anti-mutant organization that is pro-human, and as such is all about the advancement of AI, such as Nimrod and Sentinels, to help protect humanity against the growing mutant threat. I feel like there's gonna be some people in the comments who are gonna say, actually, Nimrod is technically a Sentinel, and you're right, but also, don't worry about it. Orcus sees mutant evolution as a threat to humanity's existence, but little do they know, the AI they're creating is likely to serve as an even greater threat to humanity's existence in the future, based on everything that we've seen, and every alternate universe we've ever explored where that has continued. Many have joined Orcus since we were first introduced to them, with even a few mutants betraying their own kind to join their ranks.
Number 3. Uranus. Okay, technically this guy actually appeared in What If number 24 in September of 1980, but 1. He looks completely different, 2. He wasn't doing anything until now, and 3. He's cool, so I don't really care. Uranos the Undying is Thanos' grand uncle, and one of the deadliest beings in the Marvel Universe. Uranos, like every Eternal, was created by the Celestials 1 million years ago, but he believed the Eternals best fulfilled their purpose if they exterminated both the Deviants and the humans, all life outside the universe, and imprisoned the Celestials. Luckily, his brothers Kronos and Oceanus disagreed, plunging the Eternals into civil war. Now, he ultimately lost that war and was captured by his brothers and became the first Eternal to be imprisoned within the Exclusion, where he stayed for over 500,000 years because of the failsafe he imposed upon the machine. That failsafe being that if he dies, his greatest celestial designed weapons will be unleashed. Recently, mutants have been revealed to be related to Deviants, making the X-Men enemies to the Eternals, and the Eternal Druid called on Uranos for help in Axe Judgment Day number 1. And to show how powerful he is, in a matter of 20 minutes, Uranos eradicated Cable, Magneto, and David Haller, otherwise known as Legion, along with a bunch of other very powerful mutants. He's scary.
Number 2. Annihilation. Annihilation was at first a mysterious villain who appeared in the X-Books. Eventually, however, we learned that Annihilation was actually a demonic and possessive force which had taken over Genesis, who was forced to take up the Golden Helm of Annihilation after defeating the villain. It was basically a losing battle either way, as if Genesis lost, she would have died, but in winning, she was forced to take up the helm and then lead the demonic forces of Amenth, which had so long plagued Arakko and its people. So it's like a if you win, you lose, and if you lose, you lose. Genesis turned out as well to be the long-lost wife of Apocalypse. Apocalypse had left his wife, children, and people eons ago in an attempt to help saving Arakko from the Amenthi forces that threatened to one day overtake it. In the end, Apocalypse, with the assistance of Saturnine, helped to free Genesis from the hold of Annihilation, and the helm was turned into a staff that was less influential on its host and more easily used as a tool instead of, possessing the will of whomever possessed it. Annihilation had their first appearance in X-Men issue number 12 from 2020.
Number 1. Monolith. This likely villain is so new it was hard to even find information about her. First appearing in July of 2022, which is last month unless you're in the future, in Hulk number 9, Monolith is the very strong, big pink queen of Hulk Planet. Hulk Planet is set to be the title of the new Hulk story arc taking place after Hulk's whole Titan Hulk thing and the fight with Thor that just took place. The planet itself is situated right next to a gamma-emitting star, so if you haven't guessed yet, Hulk Planet is indeed a planet covered in Hulks. Banner, piloting the Starship Hulk, finds the Hulk planet while on a mission for isolation. Instead, he meets Monolith, who offers him a place among the other Gamma beings where Hulk can exist in peace. But of course, there seems to be more to Monolith than meets the eye, and we kind of just have to wait until we can find out more information. It is likely safe to assume that as the leader of a planet of Gamma mutates, Monolith is very strong and very powerful. Will Hulk find peace? That's not usually how it goes, but only time will tell.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Dawn of the Dead. Making his first appearance in Taskmaster Volume 2, Issue 2. Okay, right off the bat, this guy rocks. I mean, look at this dude's style. Come on, he knows he's poppin'. He's a former SHIELD operative, and while he was a military advisor to the Mexican Armed Forces, he had met Taskmaster. Now, after he had left SHIELD, he got this amazing new persona, Dawn, D-O-N, of the dead, which is my new favorite name for any villain ever. That's it. He pretends to be Mexican and was elected a governor in Western Mexico. It was there that he was trained by Taskmaster, and now he's the leader of his very own cartel that focuses on methamphetamine. Nice. So this is a wild villain. Every panel of this guy is super flashy and very dramatic. Of course. He's also quite the performer. In his first issue, you see him addressing a crowd of Hannah Montana wannabes, saying that this is what real narcos sounds like. Again, the guy from S.H.I.E.L.D. pretending to be Mexican. Awesome. Duly noted.
And before we move on with our list, guys, if you could just go ahead and toss us a thumbs up, because you know it helps us a lot here at the studio. And thank you very much to everyone that has already done that. Thank you. Number 9, Macho Gomez. Macho shows up as a random villain to Deadpool in issue 32 of his 2008 series. He is basically an alien hitman who thinks he's the best. Definitely better than the earthbound merc with a mouth, Deadpool. In reality, he proves to not be as great as he thought he was. Deadpool makes quick work of him and then ends up going on a space adventure to get paid and to prove his mettle to the galaxy and the universe. This prompts an epic space opera arc where Deadpool takes over Macho's life, taking his former job and even marrying his widow.
Number 8, the Builders. The oldest race in the universe, and they actually consider themselves perfect beings. Okay, wow, we're gonna go there. I see you. Yeah, okay, you're perfect. Sweet. Beyonce and the Builders. Man, that's a tough one. Here we go. They're so perfect. I mean, how do we pick between the two, you know? They worship the Mother Maker herself, the universe. The Builders created these aggressive systems to direct, shape, and control the very structure of space and time. So they think they're the shit. There are two types of builders, the creators and Bob the Builders. No, there's creators and then the engineers. They seeded worlds for billions of years and directed the evolution of civilization. I mean, I get it, you're cool, you're old, you think y'all are the best, you're not perfect though, okay? Spoiler alert, you look like bugs. Huh? You guys look like Ultron if he was covered in cow sh.
Number 7, Hydra Supreme. Hydra Supreme was the name Captain America took when he became evil. He only became evil, of course, because Kobik, the cosmic cube in the form of a little girl, altered reality to make him a secret sleeper agent for Hydra throughout his history. Reality was then changed so that every action Captain America, Steve Rogers, had taken up to this point was all part of a long con to take over the United States of America after gaining their trust implicitly before revealing his true colors. Fortunately, the original Captain America still existed within the cosmic cube, or the shards of it, and once released was able to fight against and defeat his evil alternate reality counterpart. Woohoo! But also not woohoo if you were a fan of Hydra Supreme.
Number 6, Deadpool Corps. Making their debut in 2010, Deadpool Corps are, well, they're a team of Deadpools, as you would have guessed. Their first issue, Prelude to Deadpool Corps issue 1, they are founded by Earth 616 Deadpool after the Contemplator chose him to be the one to stop this cosmic entity, the Awareness. Super aware. The Awareness does this really neat thing where it devours the multiverse consciousness. Awesome. The Deadpool Corps have a unique mind that makes them immune to it. And they ride in style, using the B. Arthur as means of transportation. Which is not a bad ride at all. I mean, I'd pull up with that. Let's go. The Deadpool Corps joined forces after Dreadpool formed an evil version of the Corps. That, of course, had out to, massacre every version of himself in the multiverse. And the Deadpool Corps were short-lived, but as usual, a lot of bloody, disgusting fun.
Number 5, Assessor. Assessor is an AI who is working in tandem with Ultimatum, or more specifically, working for him. For those who don't know, Ultimatum is basically like evil Miles Morales, who was the Miles of the main continuity of Earth 616 originally. If you want to learn more about him, we actually talked about him in part 2 of this list series, so you can go back and check that out. Assessor, as a villain, is basically like a humanoid appearing Gladys from the Portal video game series. They had heroic Miles Morales brought to a testing center where they could run tests to gain in-depth information on his powers, threatening to harm his family members if he did not cooperate. Assessor does not appear to have any human emotions and only allowed Miles to escape after they were satisfied with the information they had already procured from the tests. It's unknown who created Assessor or where exactly they come from. It's all very mysterious.
Number 4, Detroit Steel. Making his debut in Invincible Iron Man Volume 2, Issue 25, we have another big badass suit guy, Doug Johnson III. A former army soldier who ended up working for Hammer Industries. He was the pilot rocking the big bad America suit. Everybody had thought that Doug was dead, and usually when this happens, it's either awful or it works out in your favor. I know from experience, So Mok, Breaker of Faith, turned him into stone during conflict. Then, when good guy Odin restored everybody, he was of course one of them. His family, the army, and Hammer Industries still thought that he was dead though. So he decided to use this in his favor. He got his passport, returned to America, and then kidnapped Sasha Hammer in order to get the Detroit steel armor back in his hands. Justine Hammer was on board with this whole plan. Obviously, she was going to blow up the armor as soon as she got the chance, right? Well, Dougie Johnny III was already way ahead of the game. He had hacked Hammer's systems earlier so that it had no effect on him, which is not a bad idea at all.
Number 3. Iska the Unbeaten. Iska is the sister of Genesis, and as such is Apocalypse's sister-in-law. She is a mutant from Morocco who's fighting against our mutant heroes of Krakoa in the Otherworld tournament, intended to settle their dispute as decided by Opal Luna Saturnine, the omniversal magistrix of the Starlight Citadel, as seen in the current X-Men event 10 of Swords. Iska's mutant power is an epic one. She can never be beaten. Krakoan mutants Magic and Cable both set to testing her power prior to the tournament's start at a great feast that was held the evening before, finding them to be quite impressive. They wondered what would happen if she were to face their lucky friend Domino, and Iska assured them that whoever this Domino was, she would certainly lose. And I gotta say, after seeing Iska go to work, I think I would agree. Iska's gonna probably win in a fight against Domino. Let me know what you think about that.
Number 2. Evil Deadpool. Making his first appearance in Deadpool Volume 2, Issue 44, Evil Deadpool is somebody I think we're gonna see pretty shortly on the big screen. Yes, of course, I have a theory here. So the origins of Evil Deadpool are pretty wild. So Ella Whitby, who we all remember as the British psychiatrist who's obsessed with the loudmouth, but just how obsessed you ask? Well, I mean, she collects body parts from Wade Wilson and then leaves them in her freezer, right next to the ice packs and frozen pizzas, of course. So when Deadpool found this cool box of yuck, he tossed the parts in a dumpster. Now, Wade's healing factor is so good. How good is it, Taylor? Well, they all formed together and grew back. Ugh, imagine the smell. He ended up stealing a private jet and traveled to the States, where he ran into his other half, literally. The Tiny Legs part in Deadpool 2 was great and super funny, but what's up with his second half? Are they growing another Deadpool? I sure hope so. The evil twin thing seems to be working well. We'll watch 1,000 of those all day, every day.
Number 1. Solemn. Solemn is one of the champions fighting on the side of Araco during the 10 of Swords event. Initially, we were introduced to him in 2020's Wolverine in issue 6, where he appeared as the perfect match for Wolverine. But although we've seen them dance around one another and even team up to take on a demon horde in hell, we still have yet to see these two battle one another. The reason why they seem so appropriately matched? Solemn is an Iraqi mutant with adamantium skin, meaning he, in comparison to Wolverine's adamantium skeleton, is on the same level of durability. As far as we know, he doesn't possess Wolverine's advanced healing factor though, but he is known for being a smooth talker, and both himself and Wolverine each possess a Muramasa blade, meaning that they would be easily able to slice each other up with their swords. Because, you know, Muramasa cut through anything. Also take your powers away. Number 10. Luminous. Luminous was actually a pretty cool new villain who seemed to really only be used for one story arc. She was one of the only cool things really to come out of the realization that Wanda and Pietro Maximoff were not actually Magneto's children as we'd been led to believe for years. In fact, they weren't even mutants. They were the product of the High Evolutionaries' experimentation, which fit more in line with their origins in the MCU, which I guess is why we changed that. No, I'm not mad about it. Not at all. It turns out the High Evolutionary had also used their genetic material to create a sister for them both, known as Luminous. She possessed both the chaos magic, reality warping powers of Scarlet Witch, as well as the super speed of Quicksilver, and was originally ordered by her father, the High Evolutionary, to kill her genetic siblings. She tried real hard. Number 9. Pets of Evil Masters. While the Pets of Evil Masters might not be the most impactful villains around, they are definitely some of the most adorable. These villains obviously seek to thwart the Pet Avengers, the pets of Earth's most mightiest heroes. Like their heroic opponents, the Pets of Evil Masters are exactly what they sound like, the pets of some of the most vile villains in the Marvel Universe. They are led by Doctor Doom's pet Vulture, Vulture Von Doom, and include Thori, Loki's Hellhound, and Bitey McSpidey, who isn't stated to be owned by any specific villain, but is implied to be the spider that was responsible for creating Spider-Man. On Earth 616, that spider may have died, but on Earth 97161, where the Pets of Evil Masters are from, I guess that little spider lives on, seeking to wreak all kinds of havoc. And before we move on to this next part, just a quick thank you to you for sticking around watching this video, and if you haven't already, something that helps us out a ton here at the channel is clicking that like button, so do it. Click the like button, and if you did already, thank you so much for doing so, it really helps us out. Number 8. Null. While Null did first appear as a mysterious being in Thor God of Thunder issue number 6 in 2013, he wouldn't receive a full appearance with more exploration and embellishment in terms of his history until the summer of 2018. Now Null has become such a big figure that he is threatening not just Venom's existence but the existence of all of Earth's heroes with the King in Black event that is slated to start in December. Null has come a long way since that first mysterious appearance, and it's likely he's going to aim to go even further to guarantee his place in the Marvel history books and lore for years to come. Number 7. Immortal Abomination. Immortal Abomination is the devastating monster that first appeared in Immortal Hulk issue 18. He appears to be genetic material belonging to Emil Blonsky spliced with that of Rick Jones, which gives us a really messed up version of Rick with 2 heads in a monster body. This version of Rick Jones and Abomination is also referred to as Subject B. Eventually he was put down later on in Immortal Hulk, but he is a horrifying, powerful, and emotionally painful creature for the Hulk to come up against, especially considering how close he and Rick Jones were. This version of Abomination, it should be noted, is different from the Abomination that we later come to know originally as General Reginald Fortean. The General Fortean version of Abomination first appeared in issue 19 of the Immortal Hulk series. Number 6. Ultimatum. Ultimatum is basically Dark Miles Morales from Earth 616. He grew up as part of the Rigoletto crime family and later in his life ended up serving time in prison in place of his cousin. Although Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man, has basically been moved to the Prime Universe of Earth 616 and made it his new home, following the destruction of his original universe, the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610 and the Incursions, there was another Miles Morales who originally was from the main continuity, from Earth 616. We'll call him 616 Miles Morales, try to make this less confusing for you. That Miles Morales of Earth 616 became a villain, working in league with Kingpin aka Wilson Fisk. 616 Miles has a scarred face and ends up becoming the villain known as Ultimatum. 616 Miles actually took that villain alias of Ultimatum and was planning on trying to send 1610 Miles, Spider-Man, back to his original universe and take over Brooklyn in the ongoing comic series Miles Morales Spider-Man. He was momentarily stopped, however, by Spider-Man himself and Prowler, who escaped his clutches. Miles versus Miles, who wins? Too many Miles! Just kidding, you can never have too many Miles Morales in my opinion. Number 5. Black Winter. Black Winter was actually an old villain sort of made new and shiny again. Originally we came to know this cosmic evil constant as the Creeping Plague, although I do like the name Black Winter better than Creeping Plague. It was credited with being the entity responsible for the death of the cosmos prior to its rebirth when Galen was first transformed into the being known as Galactus. The Black Winter was meant to be this massive, unstoppable eldritch villain, though shortly after its full appearance in Thor issue number 4 from 2020, it was swiftly defeated 2 issues later. It's not so unstoppable. Though it did require the power of Galactus, which Thor wielded in order to destroy the Black Winter, getting a brief glimpse of his possibly perilous future in its last falling snowflake. So yeah, it did require a lot of power, I guess, to take it out, but still, it was only 2 issues. They were like, this thing, it's massive, and defeated, no probs. Oh yeah, the Black Winter is also kind of like an eldritch storm that basically erases the existence of all it comes into contact with, and it comes with bonus visions of your own destruction. Number 4. Xeno. Xeno is a mutant terrorist group who is composed of others from previous mutant hate groups. The idea is all those mutant hate groups have now unified like the mutants themselves, becoming this new group known as Xeno, which was written to be a play on the word xenophobia. Xeno managed to capture mutant Domino and use her skin to mask their own soldiers as mutants so that they could infiltrate Krakoa and massacre as many mutants as possible before the alarm sounded in the mutant nation. During their first appearance, they managed to assassinate mutant leader Charles Xavier. Though fortunately Charles was able to be resurrected following this instance, and Krakoa covered up the successful assassination to make it seem as though he was never killed in the first place. Cause you know, you can't let other world leaders know that your world leader was assassinated. That's it's not so good. Number 3. Mutant Trauma Support Group. The Mutant Trauma Support Group is a new group with an age-old message to deliver to all humans who hate mutants. You are not alone. The group offers support without judgment to those who have been wronged or felt like they have been wronged by mutants. They offer no judgment, only support. No hate speech or degrading comments are allowed in the community unless directed towards mutants. The group appears to have all their revenge missions and anti-mutant gatherings organized via an online community, possibly possibly via a social media channel or some kind of exclusive forum. They first appeared in 2020's Wolverine in issue number 4, where they targeted, you guessed it, Wolverine. Although they had their plans of vengeance cut short by an unexpected guest, it's likely that there are many more members of the group that we could run into in the future. Number 2. Annihilation. Annihilation is a dark god who possesses those who wear their golden mask. Whoever so possesses their mask is overtaken by the dark entity within it, and depending on their own strength is often destroyed by the sheer power of the god and mask itself. It is believed to be the spirit of Amenth manifested, and is also linked to the control and rule over the Amenthi demons. Without anyone wearing the mask to rule them, the Amenthi demons are revealed to be destructive and reckless, destroying anything and everything they can get their hands on without any need for a reason. The shocking revelation of Annihilation's current true identity was recently revealed in the current X-Men run in issue 14. No spoilers for anyone who isn't caught up. Number 1. Kang. Kang the Conqueror is believed to be coming to the MCU in this next cinematic phase. So while he might not be a new villain in terms of the comics, in terms of the MCU he's going to be one of the freshest we've seen. Once he shows up, that is, in Ant-Man 3, which is expected to release in 2022. Woo! 2022, that's a long way away. It is believed that the brilliant Jonathan Majors will be playing Kang, or at least one form of him, and that he'll be showing up in Ant-Man 3. And that's according to the Ant-Man 3 IMDb page. It's right on there if you look at it. The cool thing with Kang, however, is that he's a time-traveling villain who as a result has been known by many different identities and aliases throughout his history. So while Jonathan Majors may be playing one version of him, there might be other actors also playing Kang. The weird thing though with Kang is that he's a time-traveling villain who as a result has been known by many different identities and aliases. So yeah, it could be great or it could be really confusing. We've known him as Immortus, Rama Tut, and even at one point as Iron Lad. It'll be interesting to see how Marvel and Disney aim to integrate Kang and what this means for not just the main continuity but the potential multiverse within the MCU.